Hey everyone, and welcome back to STEM Girl Budgeting. For those that are new here, I am a 26-year-old woman living in a high cost of living city with my husband. I am currently working on getting my PhD in a STEM field, while my husband works as a full-time contractor for a tech company. And we both have been using this budgeting software called YNAB Budget for multiple years, and it's really helped us become more intentional and less stressed about money. So today I'm going to walk you through how we budget our paychecks. So before I do that though, I just want to cover some of this overspending from the month of June. So this might be kind of surprising. Why are we overspent in rent? So you can see here that we assigned $2,125. And this column is the target. So we only pay $2,125 in rent per month. So that's all that we assigned. But we're basically changing the way that we're paying our rent. So we used to pay our rent via check through Schwab, and so the money wouldn't actually get withdrawn from our account until the landlord cashed it. But now we're gonna pay by check, but using Bilt, which is a credit card that doesn't charge you any kind of fees for using the credit card to pay rent. And so Bilt withdraws the money from the account as soon as you pay your rent. And so in order for our rent check to get there in time by the 1st, we have to send it a little bit early. And so basically we have to pay our rent for the month of July in June, and for the month of August in July, and so on. And so for the month of June, it's kind of like we double paid our rent, but it's going to work itself all out when we move out, because we won't have to pay rent the last month. So anyway, so that's why this is overspent. I just decided, because we live in such a high cost of living city, it felt very silly to not be getting any kind of points for our rent. Basically all of my friends use this card, and so I was feeling some FOMO, and I just decided to pull the trigger and get it. And I knew that we would have to kind of feel like we were double paying rent in June in order to still be a month ahead. Because of the way that YNAB works, you have to budget for your credit card transactions as soon as they come out, or else it counts as overspending. Anyway, so I just decided it was worth it. So what we're going to do though is I'm going to cover this money with this fund that we call a flex fund. This is a fund that we use to fund a lot of categories that we don't spend from very often, like medical expenses, as well as like technology or furniture, decor. We don't spend out of those categories very often. So I kind of just put all of that money into this flex fund, and then it makes it so that we can very kind of just go with the flow with that money. So I'm going to cover it with this. I just feel like that's easy and fine and won't mess up the rest of our budget. And then I'm going to replenish that money in the next couple of months so that we have it for other expenses. So I feel good about that. And then we're a little bit overspent in household and toiletries. It was just a really big month because we do have to withdraw coins from our bank to pay for laundry in our building. It's a coin operated like washer and dryer. And then we also had just a bunch of other things that we needed to get. But I'm going to go ahead and cover this with our public transit and rideshare fund. So I don't really fund this category because my school gives me a transportation subsidy and like in cash, and I kind of have just been defaulting to putting most of that in this category, and then it kind of just pays for whenever we take public transit or when we need to or want to do rideshare. And so sometimes I'll cover like little bits of overspending in household groceries and dining out with this fund, and I've never had an issue with it running out because we do try and stay on budget. So that's that. And then the one thing that I also wanted to do is where is it? Oh, sorry. Okay. So there's one other credit card thing. So we did get the Bilt credit card, or I guess I got the Bilt credit card. My husband also decided to open up a Sapphire a Chase Sapphire preferred card because they were doing 100,000 bonus. And I was like, oh my gosh, they haven't done that since like 2021. We have to do that. So he ended up signing up for it. I already had that card, so I downgraded mine to the Freedom card. And yeah, so this is really nice because we're going to get $100,000 points that can then be redeemed for travel. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about this, but the Chase Sapphire cards are both kind of getting a point devaluation where all of your points in the Chase portal will by default only be worth 1 cent per point instead of getting a 25% boost with the preferred card and a 50% boost with the reserve card. But any points that we earn before October will still get that 25% boost. So I'm really glad that we opened this card and that we're getting these points, and we're still going to get that 25% extra value from them. And then we'll probably end up closing that card or just downgrading it and not really using it because it's mathematically really not beneficial for us to have this card anymore without that default 25% boost, just because we're a little lazy about figuring out transfer partners, and I know that I can transfer points to like Hyatt or whatever and get like more value out of it, but it's just too complicated and I don't want to deal with it. So anyway, when I downgraded the card though, they did refund me a prorated amount for the annual fee. So I had like 4 months remaining. So I'm going to send this money to the Flex Fund. Okay, so that's that. And then, yeah, you can see here that my Flex Fund is now at 1,127. I do like it to be between 3,000 and 4,000, but I think I even wrote this in my notes. We're getting like $1,000 back from our landlord. So for a security deposit that we don't need to have with them anymore. And so I'm going to use that and then also extra money from June's paychecks and July's paychecks to bring this back up to normal levels. So that's the sacrifice that we made to get extra points on our rent. Okay. So now, oh wait, I need to go back down here. Okay. So now we're going to focus on budgeting for next month. So let me just close this out to make it a little bit easier. Okay, so what is this money? So this is all of June's income. So we only got 2 paychecks this month because we were both paid monthly. And this is both my income and my husband's income combined. So my income is my PhD stipend. I get paid to be a PhD student. It's something that's really nice about PhD programs in the US is that we have our tuition and fees covered, and they also give us a living stipend. This is after tax, so I already set aside taxes to, so when I receive our money, actually I might show you this with my husband's income. So basically, oh, that was struggling to load. Okay, so basically, when we get his income, so he makes just a flat $10,000 a month, we end up splitting it between different categories. So we only put $7,400 into ready to assign, which is like his, in quotes, net income. And then we put the other money that he needs to set aside for taxes in these categories. And the reason why I do that is because I like our income reports to be net income, because I get paid in a combination of both gross and net income, and my husband used to get paid in net income, and I just like it if our income is kind of like a consistent after-tax income in our reports. So when we pay the taxes, it ends up being in our spending reports a net of 0 for taxes, so we don't actually track that in YNAB. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, so our total income for, well, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there is a very loud siren outside. I hope everyone is okay. I live in a city, so it's very loud, and sometimes you might hear things during my YouTube videos, and I apologize for that. Okay, but yeah, long story short, we have $11,258 to budget for July. My income is going to be fluctuating a lot over the next couple of months, so this is actually, I think, the highest it's going to be for the next 2 months, but we'll see. Okay, so let's go to July. I'm actually going to use our focused views up here to kind of walk you guys through how we budget money. So we group all of our categories by kind of category type. And the reason why I do this is because, let's just jump over to reports really fast. So maybe I'll go to just this month. So I really like this because when hold on. I usually don't include taxes in this because that's confusing. Anyway, so when we look at our reports, especially over, large periods of time, I really like seeing our categories by what type of thing that we're spending on instead of when we're going to be paying that thing. And so I organize all of our categories like that, but then I still like to have a good sense of okay, what are our fixed expenses? What are our non-monthly expenses? What are our variable expenses? But I do that using the focused views instead of breaking down our category groups like that. But sometimes when I assign money, I like to use these focused views as well because it's just kind of satisfying and I think it makes a lot of sense. Okay, but I'm just going to get into it. So because my husband is a 1099 contractor, he doesn't have an employer to give him health insurance or an HSA or 401k. And so we have all of those things just on our own. And so the first thing that I'm going to take care of is what would have been deductions if he was a W-2 employee, but because he's a 1099, I just like to take care of these first. So we're going to fund his health insurance, his HSA, and his 401k. Oh, weird. Okay, sorry. It was I don't know. It just hesitated for a minute. That was kind of weird. Okay, so yeah. We're trying to max out his 401k for this year, at least the employee contribution. And so we have to do $3,125 every single month to be on track for that. We did start it later in the year, just because my husband, when he started this contracting job, it actually doubled his income. So we have a lot more disposable income than we used to have. And so now we're okay, we can actually take advantage of the 401k, max it out. And so we're excited to do that. Okay. Next, we have fixed expenses. So this includes housing expenses like rent and electric, gas, and internet. These are all of our household bills. That's $2,275 for all of them. We already took care of his health insurance. And then we have a few monthly subscriptions. So we subscribe to a couple of streaming services. I guess I'll just manually type that in. And then we have 2 cloud storage subscriptions. So that's another $12. I don't know how I feel about the fact that we pay $12 a month to store stuff when we could just buy an external drive and, just store pictures and videos and stuff on that. But I don't know. I'm lazy, so we just haven't taken the step to get those external hard drives. So I don't know, something to think about in the future, I guess, if we want to save some money. And then my Curology subscription is every other month. I recently started this just because, I just wanted better skin than I have right now. I think my skin is fine, but I thought, maybe Curology can make it even better. So I started this a couple months ago. And then also my husband has a monthly gym subscription. It's supposed to be $20, but they always charge us $20.01. I don't know why. Okay, and then we have our non-monthly expenses. And so this is kind of the power of YNAB, is being able to save and prepare for all of these expenses that come up every 6 months, every year, or you don't know when they come up, but you know that you're going to have to take care of them. So things like our cell phones, we pay annually. It's about $40 a month for both of us. We use Mint Mobile. We don't get their unlimited data plan because we have never once used more than like 15 gigabytes a month each. So it's just really not necessary to pay for unlimited data for us. I know some people do and would also just feel a lot more comfortable having unlimited data, but for us, we save a lot of money just paying for what we need. So that's what we do. And then renter's insurance, it's about $14. And then car insurance is a little bit more expensive than it usually is because I underestimated how much our car insurance would be. So we're kind of like making up for that. Okay, and then we always put $100 towards maintenance, and then it's about $10 to cover our registration, our inspection, and like any taxes that we need to pay. Oh yeah, so now you guys are going to start seeing like these categories that have an F next to it. So all of those categories are funded with the Flex Fund that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. So I don't fund those directly. And then these are all of our annual subscriptions. So they come to $28 for all of them. We are saving $75 a month for Christmas, and then $150 so that we can always have money to fly home to see our family for holidays or for any reason at all. We like to have that flexibility because we both live far from our family. And then I just put money also into a travel category. This has really been building up because we haven't gone on like a vacation in 2 years. I really wanted to go on one this year, but I don't think it's going to happen. So we're just saving up for a trip for next year, I guess. And then the last thing I need to fund is the annual fee for my husband's gym. Okay. And yeah, now we're prepared for all of these non-monthly expenses. Okay. Next we have our flexible expenses, our variable expenses. So we always put $50 a month into household. I do carry this over if we don't spend all of it. We obviously spent all of it in June. But yeah, $50 is usually enough. And then for groceries, $4.50. For dining out, $3.50. I don't carry this over, and so I make sure that these categories are completely zeroed out month to month because we just set a goal to only spend $800 or less, and we usually come in under that. And then $50 for gas because we've really only been filling up once a month. $15 to cover any parking and tolls, and then $75 for gifts and $4.50 for charitable contributions. So yeah, this is really building up because we haven't really decided which organizations we want to support this year, but we do have a goal of donating on average $450 a month from now on, now that my husband has a higher income. So yeah, we're trying to decide what to do with this money, and we're kind of just letting it build up until we decide. Then $100 for us to do stuff together. And then I have a bunch of spending categories for myself. That comes to $275. So that includes $100 of just guilt-free money that I can spend on anything. And then I get $50 for clothes, $50 for fitness, $50 for beauty, and then $25 a month so that I can buy my husband any sort of gifts. And then if I spend more than this, I usually just take it from my guilt-free money. And then this category is just a tracking category, so I fund it with guilt-free money, but I like to track how much I spend on movies because it's a major hobby of mine. And then my husband also gets money. He gets a little bit less than me because he spends less on clothing, fitness, and haircuts than I do on my clothing, fitness, and beauty. But we also pay for his gym membership, and we kind of just assign what makes sense. So it's a fluid conversation. We discuss it, and we just give the proper amount of money for how much seems reasonable for that person. Okay? And I just want to, as an aside, I just really like that we do it this way because we don't need to have separate checking accounts, but we consider all of this like our own personal money that we can spend however we want. And I really like that. Okay, and then lastly, investing. So I already funded my husband's HSA and solo 401k. And so the last thing that we need to fund is the taxable brokerage, which is $1,000 a month. But for the month of July, we actually need to do a little bit more than that. So we need to put an extra $550 in so that we can streamline, I guess, our investments for the rest of the year. So from now on, we can do $3,125 in the 401k, $358 in the HSA, and then just $1,000 in the taxable brokerage. And we're going to hit our investment goals for the end of the year, which is to max out all of our retirement accounts. You can see here that we already maxed out our Roth IRAs, so those are fully funded. And we want to invest a total of $50,000 this year, and so we do need to put a little bit into our joint brokerage to make that happen. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back here, and you can see that all of the categories are green. It looks great. And I already told you that I need to replenish this flex fund. So any extra income is going to go in here. So we just need another like $1,300 to make it to $3,000. And like I said before, we're getting a little over $1,000 back from our landlord. And so with just putting $300 in from July's paychecks, we're going to be able to get that back up. So great, perfect. Well, I think that's everything. Let's go back to June. Yeah, so that's how I budget every single month. I do like putting paychecks as they come in into this next month category and just kind of doing it all at once. I'm trying to decide moving forward if I want to change that, just because I think it would be more fun to film more videos of budgeting every paycheck, especially because I can update you guys as like I have to cover overspending and make sure that everything's okay in the current month, and then I can show you, what we're budgeting for the future month. And we do make some slight changes depending on like what month it is, how much we fund things, that sort of thing. If you're interested in watching more Budget With Me videos, or if you have like any interest at all in personal finance, please subscribe to this channel. I would love for you to join us on this journey to financial independence, I guess, is our major goal right now. And also living a really fulfilling life. That's our actual number one goal. Okay, anyway, please feel free to leave any questions in the comments if you have any, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.